Good afternoon, scrapbooking friends. I am going to be taking you on a time travel to the year 2001 and show you one of the first completed albums I made during the year I became a Creative Memories advisor. The year was 2001, and I attended a Creative Memories class with my friend Gail Parsons, who many of you know. The consultant was Debbie Montecalvo. She was right here in Attleboro, and I was going to kind of get a sense of what CM had to offer, and I really didn't intend on buying anything, and was just kind of going along for the ride. And the rest is history. And so I had gone to this class with a Susan Branch album kit. Back in the day, we used to call contraband anything that wasn't CM. And so I showed up at this CM class with a contraband kit of materials, prepared to make a page and walk away and be happy. So what I ended up doing when I then became a consultant, I felt guilty that I had these pages in a non-Creative Memories album. So I took them out of that album, and back in the day we had this album called the Triumph album, which was 8.5 by 11, and it fit the pages that I had made in that first album. And the focus of the album was Katy's second year. It was an ABC album that I kind of made with her in mind. So I'm going to take you through this. And as I open it up, you can obviously see that title pages weren't particularly important to me, I guess. So this would be something to put on my to-do list for spiffing up my albums. I know that there are pages in a lot of my albums that I didn't finish, or was waiting for something, whatever. Obviously, this could use a title page, and it might be fun to write the story of the evolution of the album based on my signing up with Creative Memories. So A is for airplane, B is for beach. You can see that back in those days, the decorative scissors were very popular, and I certainly used them on this page to take advantage of them. You'll see other pages with them on. But here we have a die cut. I am sure this is a Creative Memories die cut. So this really was a transition album. I was really going between some of the stuff that I had, the Susan Branch kit that I had for that album, and also what I was getting from Creative Memories as the year went on. C is for cousins, more decorative cutting. D is for daddy. E is for eating. This was nice. It had some pre-done mats, so it actually went very nicely with the papers. This was a favorite page of mine. I remember that. F is for friends. H is for Halloween. And I is for interesting outfits. So this is a pretty plain page. It's just photos that were trimmed, a couple of stickers, a sticker border. Very, very simple, but I was able to get a lot of pictures on an 8.5 by 11 paper. J is for July. We had a visit from cousins from the West Coast and Hawaii. They were here for a week. That was very fun for Katy. K is for Katy. Pretty background paper. And actually, I think I traced those out. I must have had a stencil for letters, because I didn't have ABC 1, 2, 3s. So those were a labor of love to cut those out, to fussy cut them out. L is for leaves, more appropriate decorative trimming. M is for mom. We used to go to Sears every 6 months and get pictures taken, and I would jump in, so I'd have a few pictures of me. N is for New Year's. That's when we went to the 2000s. Katy was so excited. She knew something was up, but she fell asleep at 11:45. So that was the story that I told here. So this is these next 4 pages are kind of the You know, they're the groundbreaking pages. These are the ones that I had started at the class that I went to with Gail, the first CM class I went, and then finished in the same manner. So I think I did this double page layout as part of that class, that actual class that I took. And you can see I must have used, I don't remember what it was called back then, but it was definitely the custom cutting system, because you see the ovals and you see these were just rectangles that were, I probably cut them down using the personal trimmer, but then I used the corner rounder. That was such a popular, still is a very popular tool. And we did have a device that would let you cut these waves using the custom cutting system. Pages are pretty plain. This was done using a doodling template that I think actually might have been a gift for going to the class, or at some point I got it. Just things punched out, little, we used to call this sticker sprinkling, where you just put stickers here and there to kind of decrease the amount of white on a page. But these 4 pages were where I first got introduced to Creative Memories. At that class, I was really impressed with the quality of all the tools that we used, of how clever the custom cutting system was and still is. And I really appreciated the company's focus on making sure your photos were in photo-safe albums, making sure that the stories and the captions were put on those pages so people would understand what was going on in the future as they read back in time. So I signed on as a consultant within a week or two of taking that first class, and I guess the rest is history. So that was 2001, and here it is 2020. So in June of this year, it'll be 19 years that I, for the most part, have been a Creative Memories consultant, with that little break when the company moved from the old CM to the new CM. Anyway, here we go with P is for picking apples. I must have paid attention when we did the border and triangle part of the class, because here I am using the opposite corner triangle technique. Back to contraband. I think this was an old Flavia Whedon kit, but it's still very, very pretty. Interesting matte, like cutting photos down and doing that seemed to be much more of a thing we did back then, although I never did it a whole lot. S is for summertime. This is our first summer in our house here on Metacomet Drive, so it was very exciting to see what was coming up in the yard, because we really didn't know. We had bought the house in the fall. 2 years old, March 1st, 2000. More Susan Branch papers. Here's how I made my own pocket pages. It's basically just a piece of cardstock with another piece of cardstock that's cut down to whatever width you want. And then I used adhesive to put it in place to make a little pocket for her birthday cards. And it's fun because you can decorate the front of that. U is for unlawful consumption of an alcoholic beverage by a minor, and U is also for underwear. Well, there you go. My daughter drinking a beer, my daughter playing with my bra. So a little insight into Katy's upbringing. V is for Valentine's Day. This is when I started doing the same thing I'm doing now, which is I was printing some of my titles using the computer, just opening up a word processing document and playing around with some of the fonts and then cutting it down to fit my page. So I'm still doing that today. Sometimes doing that, sometimes using my Cricut, but both work. Another pocket page. This must have been a die cut set from CM. And this was probably the background for the heart die cut. And here's Katy progressing through the years. V, W. The W is what a difference a year makes. X, excited about Christmas. And there's many Christmases, so I guess I gave up on the alphabet theme. There's Gail. I made those sweatshirts for Gail and Katy and me and Courtney, Gail's daughter, that year. I still have them somewhere. More about Christmas. Y is for YMCA. I just cut those out. That's kind of a neat idea, just on a white page, just cutting out rectangles in different colors. That made a very colorful background without being too busy. And Z is for Zany Pictures. So one of the things I love to do for theme albums is oftentimes you have like crazy outtakes that are just as much fun as the nicer posed shots. So here we are with all the Zany pictures that I collected for that year for Katy. We just love our Zany Kate. All kids go through that period of time when they do that awkward smiling, when they figure out what smiling is, but then when they try to do it on command, it doesn't look right. And I didn't believe in last pages either, so that might be something to try to add to this. So anyway, that's the first sort of full album that I made, continuing what I had started with the Susan Branch album. I later went back and I have albums for the year 1998, 99, and 2000 that are 12 by 12s and sort of much more linear instead of the sort of back and forth with the alphabet. But I thought you'd get a kick out of seeing it. Some of the techniques you probably remember from back in the day if you've been scrapbooking as long as I have been. And it's just fun to see how styles have changed a little bit. I don't feel like my style has changed that much. I still have a desire to keep my focus on the photos and the, you know, the memories, the information that will make those photos, you know, meaningful in the future. I don't like to get too fussy with a lot of embellishments or 3D embellishments. So in that sense, I don't think I've changed that much, but I don't use decorative cutting scissors really anymore. I wouldn't ever cut out the letters using a stencil, partially because I have punches that can do that for me now. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had fun kind of time traveling with me, and I hope you take good care and stay well.